Let me tell you something. Do you know why it's important to have Angelo Cataldi on here today? You see, Angelo on Friday goes, Sills, if that Packer team wins or if the Eagles beat the Packers, I will be here. Like he was for over 40 years in Philadelphia, either on the newspaper or on the radio. You know why? It's called accountability. Unlike some of the people on IP where there's a problem, they hide and they can't really say anything. Angelo shows up like right now. Here he is, the legendary Angelo Cataldi. Angie.
I just got to tell you, Dan, to start with, I've had a lot of experience being wrong. So it's not that hard for me. But I think people sometimes think what I say means now I'm rooting for that. I was thrilled they won the game. I felt the city is so much of a better place to live when the Philadelphia Eagles win a game. And I just got to make one comment. You just mentioned Roger Goodell. I just got to say it because he was in Brazil. He was in the stands, and they showed him in the fourth quarter with his wife, and he was beaming, happy. It was good. Where was that shot in the first quarter when they couldn't stand on the soccer field because it was too slippery? That's the new. You understand? The news is Goodell reacts to the fact that the stadium might not be great for football rather than wait till things settle. Now we'll show them. The real story was Goodell in the first quarter when these guys couldn't stay on their feet. But anyway, I digress. I just want to start with this, Dan. I was wrong. I'm glad that I was wrong. I'm hoping I'm wrong about the 5 wins. But I just got to say, I will attempt today the impossible. I will attempt not to be a killjoy for the people in Philadelphia who are very happy their team is 1-0.
Okay.
There was some real good positives that came out of the game. And then, you got to get to some of the negatives, but there was some good positives.
Okay, how about this? Then I'll tell you what I'll do for us. I'll start it off by this, and I'll throw this at you here, Angelo. Can you win a championship with a quarterback in the last 18 games that has 23 turnovers?
Well, here's the way I'm looking at that. The third one, the pass in the end zone, was horrific, and you can't win with that. The first 2, I give him 0 accountability for. 0. Because that is a byproduct of not playing in the preseason, especially the snap with Jurgens. You could have ironed that out with 3 or 4 series, just a few series. Get in the rhythm of an actual game. What you're doing when you're having a joint practice is not a game. You could convince yourself it is, but it isn't. Those first 2, that whole messy start. God, the Packers were a mess too, right? It was awful football in the first quarter. I'm giving him none of that accountability. If it's coach or his bosses, if it came from up high, if it came from Lurie and Roseman, let these guys play. Get them ready for a season from day one. Not giving him any of the accountability for that. But that interception, that could have been fatal. And that, I don't know. It was a strange day for Hurts. It was a strange game.
How about this, Angelo? Then you'll go here with this. See, to me, I'm with you on the turnovers, and I said this. The turnovers are concerning, obviously, because for you to win championship football, you've got to have low turnovers. However, my problem was the late throws. They were everywhere in the game, and you're saying that's a byproduct of not having reps and exhibition football, because if one thing showed its head on Friday, I was more surprised how well the defense, some people were going, Sills, they still gave up 400 yards. I'm like, I thought they were going to play worse. Actually, Angelo, I thought the game was won where they converted those 2 red zone opportunities. Instead of having 14 points on them, they held them to six points. They held them to 2 field goals. I thought that was the game.
It was huge. Now, I'm trying to look at this subjectively, and if I'm being objective about it, I was astounded at the play calling by the Packers, right? Especially fourth quarter. They're on the doorstep. They're at the 8-yard line with 8 minutes to play. And they run for 6 yards on the first play. It's 2nd and 4. They tried 2 passes in the back of the end zone. Very hard plays to complete when there was a ton of other more logical ways to go with it. But maybe the Eagles shut it down. I can't take that away from them. But 29 points, even with those 2 big stops early after the turnovers there, 29 points and 414 yards. They're not going to win a lot of games. They're not. They were fortunate that the offense stepped up when they needed to. And the number 1 plus, let's do it, Saquon Barkley.
Oh, yeah.
All this devaluing of the running back position when you're trying to do a contract. If you watched the games yesterday, and I watched all of them all weekend, running backs everywhere were critical to the success of the teams that won. And Barkley as much as anyone. And that was a great signing as long as he stays upright. That guy is a lot better than most of the guys at that position.
How about this, Angelo? He's on pace for 404 carries. Now, obviously, that's a number out of the gate, and that's not going to happen. But,
right.
I mean, the one thing you got to look at here, though, is can he maintain this amount of work? I mean, how much are you going to work here? Here's a guy that's carried the ball most in his career, 290 times. I mean, are you really looking to carry the ball and have that kind of tonnage? Now, I said this. I did pick the Packers to win, but I said if they run the ball more than 25 times, the Eagles will win that game. And I was shocked they ran the ball 38 times in that game. Can he maintain that type of workload, in your opinion, throughout a 17-game season?
Probably not. But I can tell you, as a fan, the most irritated I was in the entire game was when the Eagles were in the red zone and Kenny Gainwell was in. Oh. And I'm going, no, we're back to Kenny Gainwell.
Why?
And so I'm yelling, why do we pay this guy $40 million, whatever we're paying Barkley, when we're using Kenny? I can't stand Kenny Gainwell. He can't block. He's very limited. There isn't another running back. Let me put it this way. On the touchdown pass to Barkley, there is not a running back on the Eagles in the past generation that could have made that catch.
Wow.
That was a brilliant play by Barkley.
You think he's got more talent than Westbrook?
Absolutely. Well, he's bigger. He's a lot bigger. He's a bigger target. I don't think Westbrook could have gotten up there, right? And Swift, who I loved last year, he couldn't have got up there. Barkley is stuck. Man, he can do everything well. So to answer your question, no, you shouldn't be giving him 400 touches in a season. When you're in the middle of a game, he's your choice. He's so much better than anyone else. So there's always going to be that temptation. I mean, I fell in love with him watching him Friday night. That guy he's a baller, man. He's good.
Man, he really had impact plays. Here's something that is a little bit troubling as well. Last year was a major trouble down the stretch. Reuben Franks was talking about this a year ago, how they were giving up a lot of yards versus the run. They gave up 163 yards against the run against the Packers, and they were averaging 10 yards a carry in the second half with Josh Jacobs there. Here's 2 guys you have, Angelo. You have a 9th pick and you have a 13th pick that you've put that equity into. And those 2 guys, in my opinion, this goes back. I think this whole conversation goes back to what you said about exhibition reps, because they looked gassed in the second quarter. And those 2 guys just looked out of shape. And the Packers took a full advantage of that. Does that trouble you?
No doubt about it. It troubles me a lot because the Eagles' defense is going to be an issue this whole year. Not because they're not good at either element of it. They are not good at covering the pass. I'm sorry. They're just not. There's still guys open all over the field. You know how many drops the Packers had in that game? How many drops? I mean, wide open receivers that Love either missed or it was in their hands and they dropped. They would have had 500 yards easy. And second half, I guess they adjusted somehow because they were just gashing the Eagles' run defense. That is a problem. See, this is the thing. The reason I picked against the Eagles, the reason that I've been so down on is that I still had that. I still could smell that stench of last season. How awful they were at the end of the year. The good news is it didn't really carry over. But the bad news is there were still signs of it. And the signs of it with that defense were worrying me a lot. But I'll say this, they came up big when they needed to. And my favorite thing in the whole game, I love when this is how the Eagles made it to the Super Bowl 2 years ago. So they got a lead, it's precarious, and they get the ball back with 7 or 8 minutes to go. And they just eat the clock down to nothing. I think it was 22 seconds when they gave the ball back. That's the most fun. When you keep 3rd down and 4, you get the first down, the clock keeps running. I love when you keep it out of their hands. I think that's my favorite thing about what I've seen from the Eagles in the past few years. They've been really, really good at that, and they'll continue to be good at it with Barkley. But the other thing, too, I just want to mention this because this is so shocking. This kid, Baum, the linebacker. Baum, let me just say.
Eagle record for tackles at 15 with 2 sacks.
And he's a linebacker.
Unbelievable.
You understand? Eagle linebackers under Howie Roseman do not do that. They do not do that. And I'm going, where did that come from? And Kobe Dean, he looked good. He not great, but good. Yep. And that's the Dean we thought we'd see a couple of years ago. Very aggressive, little undersized, but fast. The linebacker position, when you think about how many runs they gave up in the second half and how many passes were wide open, this you can almost never say with the Eagles. The linebackers were the strength of their defense on Friday night. What are the odds?
Oh, absolutely. Angelo, there's a new product that's being sold at Wawa. Xander, can we get that milk carton up, please, for a second? And there's a brand new drink that's being sold there at Wawa, and it's a little bitter. Xander, I need the milk carton if you can here, and we'll get that up here.
I know where you go with this, Xander. I know where you go with this.
There were a couple guys, and hopefully Xander can find this, but I'll get the milk carton up. But there's an SOS going out for Bryce Huff right now, and boy, I'll tell you what, for them to have BG.
Right.
Have more reps
than
a $51 million guy. I can't believe what a miss that was. I mean, that's got to be troubling that your top guy was not there.
I forgot he was on the team.
Yeah.
So I went to the snap list on Saturday to see how many snaps he got. And he got 30 snaps, which, by the way, does not match the amount of money they're giving him. And here's a great stat. You could use this all week, Dan. Hassan Reddick still holding out. I don't think he's still not playing tonight, right?
No. Actually, tonight he lost $800K and he's been fined $5 million. So get this, Angelo. If he signed now, he'd be fined $6 million. Which, if he got 20, he'd still make 14, which he would have made anyway this year.
Not great. But anyway, he will not play tonight for the Jets. However, it is already certain that he and Bryce Huff will have the same stats after week 1. Nothing, and nothing.
Absolutely. Hey, I've got to ask you this. Is A.J. Brown the best wide receiver in Eagle history?
Well, people that love Hal Carmichael will fight you on that. People that love Mike Quick will fight you on that. But I saw them all, and I'd say yes. Ray Didiger might fight you with Tommy McDonald, too.
Sure.
Different era, different thing.
Yep.
This guy can do everything. And the thing about him that I love, too, is he does it all with attitude. Somebody gets in his face, there's going to be a brawl. He's walking around there. No, I'll say this again, and we didn't see Dotson at all, right? He's the third guy. But this is the best receiving core they have ever had, in my experience. They are so deep. And they got Barkley, who's a great receiver also. They've got all of that. And I'm happy to say at least a somewhat of an upgrade in play calling over what we were used to a year ago. Even when they were 10-1, the play calling wasn't great. Moore's play calling was better. It wasn't great, but it was better.
How about this, Angelo? I thought the one thing that I noticed, and you and I probably look at the game the same way, and I tweeted this out when I was watching the game. Didn't you find it odd that Nick Sirianni was talking to wide receivers? He was talking to O-linemen.
Yeah.
He was talking to running backs. He was talking to the janitor. Him and Big Dom were having a couple cannolis together on the sidelines. Then they had a nice cappuccino together. But did you notice that the one person that he was not involved with at all in any way, with any conversation, was Kellen Moore, the quarterback coach, and Jalen Hurts? I mean, I don't know about you, because you and I think keep an eyeball on stuff like that.
Right.
I thought it was really odd to see that a head coach had no communication with his quarterback whatsoever. How'd you take that?
Well, I have this TV link where I can hear the actual commentary on the sideline. And when he went up to the offensive line early in the game, they show a shot of him there. He said, "Hi guys, I'm Nick Sirianni, the head coach. Nice to meet you." Because he's not in any meetings anymore. He's not part of any of the strategy. To see him involved on the sideline was, to me, highly amusing. Because I went, well, I guess he's privy to what these game plans are, but he certainly didn't have any input into making them. We know that because the two guys that are in charge are in charge. And maybe it had something to do with special teams, because after a whole training camp, they still didn't know how to line up right for the opening kickoff. So I thought Nick might have had something to do with that. No, it's hilarious because he's a powerless coach on the sideline, appearing very involved, but I don't know with what.
I found that to be weird. Now, this was a story last week that we were told that happened, because I didn't realize, and I know Mitchell ended up going in there, but there's a couple friends of mine that are on the coaching staff, and I got a depth chart, and I saw that Devin White wasn't starting, and all of a sudden, this was on a Sunday, I think it was, and I also didn't see that they had Isaiah Rodgers out there. Well, get this, they made that decision. They still took Rodgers to Brazil with them, and they kept Devin White back. I heard that this guy blew a gasket so bad that they kept him behind.
Wow.
And he had an ankle injury, the same ankle injury that he had in Tampa a year ago when the contract wasn't going well. And he had been beat out. Angelo, his ankle did not cause him not to win that position. That Dean had beaten him out. But once he found out, they didn't take him down to Brazil. Isaiah Rodgers, they brought down to Brazil with them. And there was rumors going around. I think a couple people at ESPN were saying, I think Jeremy Fowler was saying, that the Eagles were trying to shop Devin White right before the final cutdown. So again, he was a problem in Tampa. That's why they walked away from the 5th pick in the draft at 25 years old. You think there could be a problem here with this here moving forward? Because they need some depth at that linebacker position. And this guy looks like the problem that he was in Tampa, and he's brought it up to Philly with him.
I don't like what you're implying here at all, Dan. Are you suggesting that the Eagles are hiding some dissension in the ranks? Because Bob Lang, I know, and the people that run the PR department over at the Eagles are as full disclosure as you could ever hope for. And I got to assume later today, they will issue a full statement on the circumstances involving both of those players, because they're really, really great at that disclosure. The thing is, do you realize now you're never going to find out?
Oh, never.
Because the Eagles are not going to tell you. And there's nobody left covering the team that will get to the bottom of stories like that, right? But Dan, you're making me much more negative than I wanted to be today.
No, Angelo, listen, they got to win. They got the win. I mean, but look, I mean, I said this a year ago to them. I go, when they had New England and they beat them, I went, that's not a championship football team. They're going to win games. They got a lot of talent on the team.
Yeah.
But Angelo, my problem where I'm at with them, and I think this is, see, you know what you and I have to do? We have to make other people feel better about their lives. So what we do is we make them feel better about their lives by telling them a little things so that they can feel better about their lives. And then we come in with the reality of it and the truth and all that, and people get upset with it. But what you tell them is this: you're so close to winning a championship. We're talking, you and me are talking championship football. We're not talking about winning
Right.
10, 11 games here. We're talking about closing the deal and running through the tape. That's a problem that I have with them. You do everything right. Contracts, money up front, all that. The evaluation with pro personnel, getting Slay in a trade, AJ, all that. You do great things with that. However, you do a lot of things that are wrong when it comes to running through the tape. And I just, to me, they're this close. And that's why I have a problem with some of the things that you and I point out. We point out, hey, giving up 163 yards rushing, 10 yards a carry, you're not going to win games doing that. No pressure on the ball. They had no sacks except for Vaughn.
They don't have a pass rush this year. And they did this because, Reddick was, they were probably right. Reddick's out of his mind. What Reddick's doing is self-destructive.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. You signed a contract, play out the contract, and you get paid. That's the way it works. So he's getting terrible advice, but they're going to miss him because, boy, does Huff look like nothing. I mean, I hope he shows up at some point, but he was completely invisible in his first game. And wouldn't you think, you want to make a good first impression, even if you jump offside, just let somebody know you were there.
I'm over here.
Yeah. I forgot he was on the team until Saturday.
Hey, finally here. Okay. People have been asking me ever since the post-game show this weekend and now here, Angelo, are you ready to amend the 5 wins, or are you going to, as I do, hey, it's week 1, I'm with you still. I think it's going to be a tough putt uphill for that team this year still. Are you ready to amend, or are you sticking with your 5?
All right. My son's a Giants fan. It's a long story.
Oh, God.
He talked me into putting $10 on the Giants to win outright against Minnesota, right? So I watched some of the Giants games straight up. They really, really stink. I mean, they're awful. The commander, that 5 number really was fun in the moment, but it's seeming now a tad low. But you're right. I'm not. Why do I have to fold?
No.
You just dealt the hand. Let's see a couple more games, and then I'll acknowledge to everyone what they already know, that is, I'm an idiot. But
I'm with you.
Not yet, because you're right. It's a big gap between 5 and 12 and the Super Bowl. They're probably somewhere in between. How's that? All right.
I admire you so much doing that, because you're like, wait a minute here. 5, there's 17 games. So there's one of the wins.
Yep.
Who cares whether it's week 1, week 2?
Right.
Okay, because Atlanta didn't look very good.
No.
Kirk Cousins, I watched that game. Kirk Cousins, man, he was terrible. Bijan Robinson was fantastic in that game, and he's a good-looking player. And I think he's going to be some trouble for the Eagles on covering that guy this coming Monday night. But I'm still with you there. I think that Atlanta team's still going to be an issue for them a little bit come Monday night, because they got some talent.
I'm more nervous about the next week, Dan, because I'm going with a whole 200 some people to New Orleans for the game in the Superdome. And I have predicted the Eagles win there, and the Saints looked fantastic.
47 they put up.
But they put up 47.
I know.
And I was starting to go, oh, great. We'll go in there and we'll lose there. And now I'm on the plane, and the people are throwing stuff at me going, yeah, you're the negative. You caused this, you jackass.
Hey, wait, Angelo, do me a favor. How can people sign up for that. Can they still sign up for it, or do you got your people
Yeah,
how they
it's
can do it?
go to. I'm not sure if there's anything left on the actual trip, but you could still get onto the charter jet that would
Ooh.
take. And you could probably get a better deal than if you flew there. It's phillysportstrips.com. And the last time I looked, the actual full trip where we're going on cruises and all this other stuff, we're having a Q&A with Hollis Thomas, that I think is booked, but there's still room on the plane so that on the way home you could throw stuff at me. If I get what I was promised, I'll be right up front. I'll be an easy target.
Angelo, are you going to go on a riverboat or any of that down there when you're down there?
You don't know too how much I hate boats, but Hollis said you have to do a booze cruise.
A boot. Now I know why you hate the yachtsmen, because you don't like going on boats.
Listen, when Hollis Thomas tells me to do something, I do it. It'll be a hell of a trip. My wife is coming, and we'll come home 10 pounds heavier.
Yeah, great food down there in New Orleans for sure. Angelo, make sure you folks check out his blog. Also, he's making a trip down to New Orleans, so there's still seats on the charter. You guys can sign up and go down there. I know Eagle fans end up traveling well. By the way, I thought they traveled great to Brazil. There were a bunch of Eagle fans down there too. I saw some Packer fans in there, but hey, that field was ridiculous too that the NFL put those guys on. Hey, you notice the commentators didn't say anything about it because they were told obviously not to.
Oh, and one other thing. Can I just get this in? Tom Brady was awful. All right.
I thought he was too.
He was just bad. All right.
He was.
Why is he doing this?
Why?
Why does he have to do this? He's got to put a suit on, and he's got to and then he's got a real high pitched kind of squeaky voice, and he made comments that were like Captain Obvious, and he really sucked.
Oh, he stunk.
I never was able to say that when he played.
Yeah, of course.
He really sucked. He should not be doing this. And somebody gave $375 million.
And Fox gave him 10 years, $375 million. It's Angelo. It's funny you say that because Jason Kelce threw kind of a shot at me in a way because I said that I took what Jalen said and I go, yeah, well, Jalen's talking crap on it. And he goes, well, some media guys are making that into being a bad thing, and I wasn't making it into being a bad thing. I just said, hey. He said basically that you held him back and the organization held him back from developing as a quarterback. So I said, now, wait a minute here. Jason Kelce was a great center. And as a broadcaster, let me tell you this to you. You don't get any equity with me. I've been doing this 34 years. Right. And Tom Brady doesn't get equity with me for being a broadcaster too, Angelo, because, look, when it comes to you playing, you were spectacular. I got no say in that. But when you talk about being a broadcaster, you're in my pod now. You're in my pod.
100% right.
You're going to have to learn, Jason, what broadcasting is about. You're going to have to take the shots, give the shots.
Yes. And I don't think Brady will. And I have my doubts about Jason, who I love, but maybe over time. But these people that he's talking about right now are people he faced on the field. He has relationships. It's going to be very hard for him to do that. And if they're not being honest with you, if they're not giving you the negative with the positive, they're not doing their job. Screw them. I'll rip Jason Kelce too. But Brady sucked.
He stunk. But you've got to be willing, right, Angelo? You've got to be willing to lose friendships when you get into this business. Because if you don't, you're not going to last.
Well, that's it. That's why currently I have 0 friends.
It's only me and you, Angelo. That's it.
Only you, and you call me once a week, max. So it's not that close.
But you know what? I think that's what we like about one another.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't want more of that.
No. Yeah, I think we're in the same room. Tell your wife and your lovely wife, have a great trip going down there again. We got to see what happens on this Monday night. Thank you so much for finding time. Make sure you find the blog. Make sure you also go to Amazon. Get the book. It's also in audio, too. Angelo, it's always great having you on, my friend. Thank you so much.
I love football. It's back.
Yeah, there he is, Angelo Cataldi. By the way, no crow eating. 5 wins. Why would he pull back on that? Why? See, we're two of a kind, he and I. We're two of a kind. Hit the like. Where are we on the like list here, guys? Tell me where we are on the like button. Where are we on the like list? We'll talk a little bit about tonight's game, too. And we'll also, again, reset here in a second about what happened in that game on third. 298. We got 300. We got a shot at 4. 300 likes. Thank you. You guys are great. Please hit that like button. I want to get to 400 by the end of the program. We're going to reset. This time on the reset, I'll go to your comments. Sills and Angie, share a cannoli. Well, that's what the greats do, senor. Senor. That's what the greats do. They share cannolis. Might give us agita, but we share cannolis. Hit the like button. Keep it here. Power Hour coming up. Keep it here, National Football Show.